Now we're moving on to God's judgments. Does he always give enough warning? Right here, again, the fear of the lightning striking. So I don't know how that's even really scary, because to me, I love storms. About 10 days ago, we had a tornado that hit our town where I live in South Dakota, USA, and it did some damage. It didn't, like I say, no one was hurt or anything. That's the good news about that. Is the fact that this doesn't scare me. I love thunderstorms and lightning. So how is this even supposed to be scary? But this is going to scare some people, because I know people that are, again, afraid of storms. I don't know. I like them. They're really kind of soothing to me. But anyway, it says right here, people need to hear the warning as God's storm approaches. Yeah, he's going to murder you if you don't join a Pharisee organization. Okay. So God's judgment, does he always get enough warning? Let's I'll play it.
God's judgments. Does he always give enough warning? The weather forecaster examines a developing radar image. He sees a dangerous storm bearing down on an area with a large population. Because he is concerned for the people's safety, he tirelessly warns them before it is too late. In a similar way, Jehovah is now alerting Earth's inhabitants to a storm that is more ominous than anything they might hear about in a weather report. How is he doing so? And why can we be sure that he is giving a storm that is more ominous than anything they might hear about in a weather report? How is he doing so? And why can we be sure that he is giving people enough time to respond? For the answer,
I never understood that. How a loving God is gonna tell everybody, well, I'm gonna murder you if you don't come to my organization. Almost to say, well, I don't get peer worship. I can't get peer worship, so I have to warn you of a thing that's coming. So I'm gonna send out this judgment. I'm gonna murder you, and you're supposed to respond to this and go to this religion. How is that even really an act of love? How is that even getting pure worship? That's a misuse of power, God. This is where I have, again, issue with the Bible, and I'm trying to come up with the right words. I'm trying to form my thoughts here, but no, it's not a God of love. A God of love would not do this. I mean, oh boy. First of all, this is what humans are saying. When it comes down to it, this is what man says. Let's continue.
let us first consider some warnings that Jehovah issued in the past. When God gave advance warnings.
I'll stop right there. If you look at, now, the Jehovah's Witnesses claim that they are giving they're giving God's judgment. They're giving the warning. Now, I've done a video where the nation of Cuba has around 10 to 12 million people. And they have almost 100, they have 95,000 publishers, according to the JW.org, the numbers for peak publishers. And that's just pathetic compared to Ethiopia, who has 100 million people, yet they have like 10,000 publishers. So this discrepancy of this warning message is absolutely terrible. It's absolutely not good. You look at China. We all know how many are there. Well over 1 billion. Takes about 4 or 5 United States of Americas to make China. I mean, China is about 1.5 billion people, or 1.4 billion, or something like that. That's a large number. And then you look at India, who's about 1.3, 1.4 billion people, and they only have about 45,000 publishers. So why a big discrepancy? Is this really God's work? I mean, you'll have to be the judge on that. I know how I feel. I say it's not God's work. If it is, it's absolutely terrible. The numbers again. So the warnings that they're talking about are just, the discrepancy is horrid, to say the least. It's terrible, to say the least. All right, I'm going to continue.
In Bible times, Jehovah warned of various storms or acts of judgment that he would bring against those who deliberately disobeyed his commands. In each case, he informed the affected people well in advance and instructed them to make changes that were in harmony with his will. To encourage the right response, he often used his loyal servants on earth to announce his judgments and to convey a sense of urgency. Noah proved to be one such faithful servant. For many...
What a coincidence. God uses to get his message across. So humans are telling other humans about God, but God can't do it himself. So he uses humans to do it. And someone would say, well, we got to understand, humans are imperfect, so God can't speak to them directly. So he has to use other imperfect humans to do it, including, right here, Noah. It's going to talk about Noah's efforts to warn the people of a pre-flood. Let's actually...
He fearlessly warned the immoral and violent people of his day about a coming global flood. He also told them what they needed to do to be spared, so much so that he was later called a preacher of righteousness. 2 Peter 2:5. Despite Noah's efforts, the people of that pre-flood world ignored his God-given message. They showed a gross lack of faith. As a result, they died when the deluge came and swept them all away. Matthew 24:39. As their end approached, they could not properly claim that God had failed to warn them.
Actually, I'm going to have a rebuttal. Well, of course. I'm going to have to disagree with that, because God didn't warn them. It says right here, as their end approached, they could not properly claim that God had failed to warn them. Well, yes, they actually can, because Noah told them. Noah warned them. Noah was a drunkard. He was probably a real big drunkard. So these people, these individuals were listening. It was like, you just know, you have to have critical thinking, logic when it comes to this. Reasoning on the scriptures. That this is an allegory. Because in Noah's day, they lived longer. Sometimes the Bible says 969 years. Methuselah, or whatever his name was, I think I pronounced that correctly, lived to be 969 years old. Now, if that's the case, if people live to be 900 years old, and you apply it to our day, if they lived the same amount of length they did in Noah's day, Robin Hood would still be alive. Christopher Columbus would still be alive. George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, well, not Abraham Lincoln because he was shot, but that's another story. But George Washington would still be, alive if they lived to be like this did back then. Now, 8 people survived that flood. I did a video on this before about the flood, but 8 people survived that flood. And the population back then, if they lived longer, well, you think 7 to 8 billion people is big. Back then, the population was probably around 100 billion if they lived that long. Could have been 100 billion. And at their end approach, they could not properly claim that God had failed to warn them. Oh yeah, I'm sure that's what they were thinking when they were drowning. It's like, well, yeah, I guess God really is love, and He's gonna, we deserve. I mean, no. It'll be. I mean, it's just 100 billion people. You could argue were destroyed versus 8 people surviving. I mean, that's just pathetic. I mean, that's certainly a misuse of power right there by God. Again, a lot of this is man-made. Noah's message, basically Noah's message, talks about Pharaoh in Egypt, but I'm not going to go through there. If you want to, it's available on jw.org, or just Google it, type in October 2019 study edition. And I wanted to read this. It says, responding to God's warning today. Today, to all people must respond to an urgent appeal that is now being announced earthwide. So it talks about Jesus, talking about in Matthew 24, about the Great Tribulation and all that. And something really caught my eye when I was reading this. In harmony with the prophecy, Jehovah is now urging everyone to submit to his loving rulership. Everyone? Everyone, really? I don't think so.
In harmony with that prophecy, Jehovah is now urging everyone to submit to his loving rulership. In harmony with that prophecy.
Negative. He's not. Again, look at the numbers. Look at the discrepancy of the warning message, or the JW warning message. It says some 240 lands. Jehovah wants as many people as possible to heed the warning and escape the coming sword of his righteous judgment. Righteous judgment. Yeah, right. And it says right down here, the vital question then is not whether Jehovah gives people enough time to respond to his warnings. The vital question then is not whether Jehovah gives people enough time to respond to his warnings. The evidence shows that he always does. Instead, the key questions remain, will people heed God's warning while there is still time? Maybe like 1975. Is there still time to 1975? A failed prediction organization is given this warning, basically, this message. Again, he doesn't. And this is a big lie right here. The evidence shows that he always does. No, he doesn't. He really does not. And I explain those why. He does not give enough warning, and it's certainly the JW warning is laughable, to say the least. It's not right. I mean, and it's certainly not good news, and it's certainly a misuse of power, God. Again, thank you for watching, and you have yourself a wonderful day. Thank you.